Richard Klein has noted the unexplained presence of two little graphic figures on the cover of Freud's book on jokes and their relation to the unconscious. You can see them here, but let's take a closer view. Indeed, it looks as if we might have three little circles that look a lot like interior eights. That's what Klein thinks, at least. And a zigzaggy figure at the bottom that looks like a piece of Swiss cheese that got caught up in a mangler. Let's take an even closer look. There are three distinctive elements. The first thing we notice is that the hole in the middle is a kind of self-standing figure that, if we look at just the edges, doesn't loop around itself. Rather, other things loop around it. The other two elements are upside-down versions of each other. We can pull them apart and see that they are identical except for orientation. They fit together and combine to penetrate the inner link in a crisscross manner. If we consider only the edges, we might say that the two twisty components might be what we would see if we looked just at the edge of the Mobius band, but looked at it from two different directions. I think it may be the case that we are looking at a catographic cut in its two-sided aspect, and relating this double view to what Lacan later shows us, a Brownian braid he calls the true whole. This now looks to be a pared-down version of the image we saw on the cover of Freud's book on jokes. But how can we account for the time difference from 1905 to Seminar 23, which was given in 1975-76? This is another capital offense in the world of the historians. The Borromeo rings, they argue, do not appear until late in Lacan's work. This is technically true, and I advise everyone to read Will Greenshield's work on this topological feature. But what no one has yet done is depict the Borromeo rings using George Spencer Brown's calculus. A single symbolic notation, the angle, represents both a distinction and an indication. As Louis Kaufmann, the knot theorist, has noted, distinction and indication are simultaneous, not indication following distinction, as some Lacanians have claimed. The simultaneity has to do with the way that any ring is both a top and bottom, shown here by the green and red rings. What is key is the role of the blue ring, which, like the imaginary line in Lacan's true whole, keeps the two rings together. Now we have another interesting relationship. Freud's book on jokes and the unconscious is a monumental gesture towards ethnology. Nothing could be more universal to the human symbolics relation than the real in the joke. It cannot be historicized. Although what is funny changes from age to age, even month to month or week to week, funniness itself has a stable structure. The joke helps us imagine how the otherwise antagonistic symbolic and real might actually hold together. We could say even that the laugh, a convulsion, acts out the antagonism physically. In a personal story, I ran aground the Persian custom of tarof, the obligation to give someone an object they have admired, particularly if the compliment has occurred at a threshold. I once made the mistake of remarking to a guest, an Iranian, who was about to come into my home, that his tie was the most beautiful I had ever seen. He immediately took it off and gave it to me, honoring the rules of tarof. It is a nice touch that a tie is also something like the drawing Freud has on the cover of his book. But my suggestion here is that jokes and customs involving protections against the evil eye have a common logic, in that this is an ethnologic that is the basis of topology. No matter how we portray this topology, or how figures appear in a temporal sequence in Freud's or Lacan's work, the logic is radically ahistorical.